You're in a room full of people. Music is playing. Conversations are happening all around you, and somehow you've never felt more alone. You check your phone, no one has texted back. You scroll anyway. The ache doesn't fade. It sharpens. Most people treat that feeling as a private little sadness, something to push through, a mood, and nothing more. But the real answer is far stranger. That ache isn't random. It isn't weakness. It's one of the oldest alarm systems your body has ever built. And it might be more dangerous than almost anything else you'll feel this year. Here's the reframe. Loneliness was never designed to make you sad. It was designed to make you scared. 300,000 years ago, a human being alone wasn't just uncomfortable. They were prey. No claws, no fangs, no fur thick enough for a cold night. Just a slow, soft body that needed a group to survive. A lion didn't fear one human. A lion feared 12 of them with spears. So your ancestors who felt nothing when they wandered off alone, who felt no pullback toward the fire, toward the others, toward safety, they didn't last long enough to become your ancestors. The ones who survived were the ones who felt a sharp, unpleasant signal the moment they drifted too far from the group. A signal that said, quite simply, get back, now. That signal is still installed in you. It never got the update. It still fires exactly the same way, whether you're separated from your tribe by a mile of grassland or separated from your friends by a phone screen that hasn't lit up in 6 hours. Anthropologists who study modern hunter-gatherer societies, groups like the Hadza in Tanzania, see echoes of this everywhere. Survival in those communities almost never came down to one person's strength or speed. It came down to the group's ability to share food, share warning, share warmth on a cold night. A skilled hunter who couldn't cooperate was less valuable than an average hunter who could. Belonging wasn't a soft social bonus layered on top of survival skills. Belonging was the survival skill. The most dangerous thing a person could become wasn't weak. It was unwanted. Picture it concretely. A small band, maybe 30 people, moving across open land. Somebody wanders off chasing a wounded animal and doesn't notice how far they've gone. The light starts to change. The group's silhouette on the horizon gets smaller, and something in their chest tightens before their mind even catches up to what's happening. That tightening wasn't an accident of biology. It was selected for, generation after generation, because the people who felt nothing in that moment simply didn't make it back. This is where the science gets specific. Psychologist John Cacioppo spent decades studying loneliness at the University of Chicago, and he didn't describe it as an emotion. He described it as hunger, not metaphorical hunger, functional hunger. Cacioppo's research found that the brain processes social disconnection using some of the same neural circuitry it uses for physical pain and physical hunger. Your brain doesn't have a separate file folder for missing people. It files it under threat. Cacioppo went further than that too. He didn't just ask people if they felt lonely. He scanned their brains. He tracked their bodies over time. And he found that loneliness doesn't just feel bad in the moment. It changes how the brain pays attention. Lonely participants in his studies became more vigilant for social threat, faster to notice a frown, slower to notice a smile, quicker to interpret silence as rejection. The mind, trying to protect itself from further disconnection, starts scanning every interaction for danger, which, cruelly, often makes new connection even harder to form. Think about what hunger actually does to you. It doesn't whisper. It doesn't ask politely. It hijacks your attention until you do something about it. Loneliness works the same way. It's not a gentle nudge. It's a klaxon. And the danger isn't just emotional. It's physical, measurable, and far larger than most people assume. In 2010, researcher Julianne Holt-Lundstad led a meta-analysis pulling together data from over 300,000 participants across dozens of studies. She wanted to know how much social isolation actually shortened a human life. The results startled even the researchers. Chronic loneliness was associated with an increased mortality risk comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It outranked obesity. It outranked physical inactivity. A feeling, just a feeling, sitting in the same danger category as a pack-a-day habit. Holt-Lundstad's later work pushed the number even further. Across hundreds of studies and millions of participants combined, Strong social connection was linked to roughly a 50% reduction in early death, regardless of age, health status, or cause of death being studied. Half. Not a small edge, not a marginal benefit. A number large enough that, if it came in pill form, it would be the most important medication ever discovered, and every doctor on the planet would be required to prescribe it. Why would a feeling carry that kind of weight? Because your body doesn't know the difference between an emotional threat and a physical one. When you feel persistently disconnected, your body responds as if you are in actual danger, the way your ancestors were in actual danger when they were separated from the group. Cortisol rises, inflammation increases, blood pressure climbs, sleep gets shallower and more fragmented. Your immune system, the one built to fight off infection, starts running less efficiently because evolution prioritized vigilance over repair. If you're alone, you might need to run. Healing can wait. Your body is still bracing for a predator that, for most of you reading this, will never come. This isn't only a human story either. In the 1950s, psychologist Harry Harlow ran a series of experiments that have become infamous, and for good reason. He separated infant rhesus monkeys from their mothers and gave them two artificial replacements. One was made of bare wire but dispensed milk. The other was made of soft cloth but offered no food at all. Conventional wisdom at the time assumed the babies would cling to whichever surrogate fed them. They didn't. They clung to the soft cloth mother for comfort and only visited the wire mother briefly, just long enough to feed, before rushing back to the warmth. Connection wasn't a bonus need stacked on top of survival, it was survival. Monkeys raised in total isolation, with no soft mother at all, grew up anxious, withdrawn, and in many cases unable to function socially for the rest of their lives. The wiring for connection wasn't optional equipment, it was load-bearing. You carry that same wiring. Every text you send, hoping for a fast reply. Every time you walk into a party and scan the room for one familiar face before you can relax. Every flicker of relief when someone simply says, "I'm here." None of that is shallow. None of that is needy. It's a few 100,000 years of evolutionary architecture quietly doing its job. So here's the counterintuitive twist. The modern world didn't remove the danger of loneliness, it just changed its disguise. For most of human history, isolation was visible. You could see the empty space around you, the absence of a fire, the absence of a group. Today, you can be lonely while looking directly at hundreds of faces. You can have a phone full of contacts and a feed full of friends and still trigger the exact same ancient alarm, because the alarm was never built to measure how many people are nearby. It was built to measure how connected you actually feel. And there's a cruel irony hiding inside the very tools built to solve this. Studies on heavy social media use have repeatedly found that passive scrolling, watching other people's curated lives without real interaction, correlates with higher reported loneliness, not lower. Your ancient alarm system doesn't recognize a like, a view count, or a notification badge as a real bond. It recognizes presence, eye contact, shared effort, a voice that responds to your voice in real time. Without that, the system stays armed. Consider how strange your daily routine would look to someone from 30,000 years ago. You wake up. You're physically near no one, but your phone shows you the faces of hundreds of people, smiling, laughing, eating dinner together, all of it happening somewhere else, without you. Your ancient brain interprets this exactly the way it would interpret watching your tribe gather around a fire from a distance, close enough to see, too far to join. It registers exclusion. It doesn't matter that you chose to open the app. The alarm doesn't check intentions. It only checks distance, the kind measured in attention, not miles. This is the modern mirror. You were never built for proximity without connection. A crowded subway car, a packed group chat, a feed of thousands of strangers, none of it satisfies the actual hunger, because the hunger was never about headcount. It was about whether anyone would notice if you disappeared. Which is why the moments that quiet the alarm aren't the ones with the most people in them. They're the ones with the most attention in them. A friend who puts their phone down. A conversation that goes past the surface. A hand on your shoulder when you didn't ask for one. Your nervous system, the same one your ancestors carried across grasslands and into caves, recognizes those moments instantly and exhales. There's a long-running study out of Harvard, now in its 9th decade, that has tracked the same group of people across their entire adult lives, asking a simple question: what actually predicts a long, healthy, satisfying life? Not income, not fame, not even physical fitness, though that mattered too. The single strongest predictor, the one that showed up again and again across generation after generation of participants, was the quality of their close relationships. Not the number of people in their contact list. The depth of a handful of bonds they could actually rely on. That's the part the ancient alarm has been trying to tell you the entire time. It was never asking you to be popular. It was never asking you to fill a room. It was only ever asking you to be known by somebody, anybody, deeply enough that your absence would actually be felt. So the next time that ache shows up, in a quiet apartment, in a crowded room, in the dead scroll of a feed that isn't filling anything, don't read it as a flaw in you. Read it as a message from a system that has kept humans alive for 300,000 years. It isn't telling you that you're broken. It's telling you that you're still, underneath everything, exactly the kind of creature who was never meant to survive alone. You're in a room full of people. Music is playing. Conversations are happening all around you. And for the first time, the ache makes sense because it was never trying to hurt you. It was trying to bring you home.